So this is a continuation of my cocktails and cleaner from the Mila brochures. And I wanted to take a second to show you these photos, which I am incredibly grateful to have. These are pictures of the store that I now own, which is in Butler, PA. This is when it had first opened up in the 90s. It was originally called Sweeper City. Sadly, the owner had passed away back in late 2022. We took over in early 2023. And I found these in a filing cabinet, and I really wanted to share them because there's just the most amazing 90s vacuum nostalgia is in here. At one point, they were advertising that they had like 3,000 or 4,000 vacuums in stock. We are in Western Pennsylvania, so we do call them sweepers. I know that a sweeper to most of the world is, most of the country is a push broom, like a hokey type machine. But at this point, a sweeper was used interchangeably with vacuum. So this is one of the first pictures here. So if you look at this, you can see he was doing beam central vacuums at the time. He had the loop of clear pipe there. There was a little CRT TV that actually was going to be playing a video on a loop. But then if you notice here, there's a G3 and a Heritage 2 with a Royal right next to it. Definitely these were either trade-ins or purchased from the Kirby dealer. Over here is a bunch of D3s, and I think there's a D3, there's an Electrolux, looks like a Marquee in here, which is, Bill's big thing was, his greatest fear in life was someone was going to walk in and ask for something that he did not have. So he had everything, which was interesting. This is on one of their trips with, I think, Hoover. He was a big Hoover turbo power dealer. So some of the pictures you're going to see in here are not vacuum related. I'll try to skip to the vacuum stuff. So this is when they were beginning to open up the store. You can see a lot less stuff in here than the other photo we looked at. He was selling Panasonics. Let me get this into view here better. Sorry. And so there we go. So looking at this, you can see he was, like I said, big Hoover turbo power dealer. This looks like it predates the turbo power series. If you look in here, you can see the really entry level basic Hoover Elite with no tools or anything. Breathe Easy, no, sorry, Dimension Upright, I think. And there's a stack of the Dirt Devil shop vacs here. And then all of these cloth bags he had on display. I guess if someone came in looking for a new one, this is when machines still had a lot of disposable or cloth outer bags. This Hoover steam vacs were here, and I think this is at the point when they didn't have the spin scrub yet. This may have just been the single stationary brush machines. And wide selection of Panasonics. He was a big Panasonic dealer at that point. And this is looking, let me get so this is looking in the window, in the front window, and he was selling Eureka. So it was Bravos. Looks like Hoover commercials here in the window. These were Panasonic canisters. And then if you look, I've actually not noticed this before. If you look down here, you can see the faint makeout of a gray handle of an early Phantom upright. This would have been predated the Phantom Thunder. So when we took over in 2023, all of these fluorescent lights were still here. Only about half of them worked. And Owen rated it very succinctly when he said, if all of these lights worked, you would look like a Kmart. But since none of them work, you look like an abandoned Kmart. And I thought he really had it right with that one. This was the front of the store here. The neons are actually still working. We still have them in place. It's a great 90s nostalgia thing that I just love. If you look at the front here, you can see there's just all kinds of machines. This bright orange Sharp, the entry-level Hoovers, Hannah Hoover, little vacuum cover. So some of the stuff is still actually here. Like the neons and stuff. This sign was replaced before we took over, and it was then replaced again. This was looking at the counter. This was all rows of vacuum, the oils, the scents. We are in a big, a lot of rainbows sold in our area. So he used to sell a ton of the oils to put in there. He had all of them. I love here, you can see there's a Dirt Devil director's chair that a lot of customers sit on. And Mila, this is when he brought Mila in, is whenever they moved to this location. And kind of a blurry picture there. This picture here probably won't come out well on camera, but there's Phantoms in here. There's Dirt Devil Visions, Oryx, where a lot of there's stacks of Phantom Lightnings. I'd love to know where those all went. Or, I mean, I know they were sold, but I would love to know if any of them have survived. What's interesting is at this point, a lot of vacuum stores still have the reputation of really only selling vac shop only brands, and he was really ahead of his time in a way that he really sold what people asked for. So again, his greatest fear is you came in for something and he didn't have it. So he had stacks of Oryx, all these bagless machines. That was the thing at the time. Still is. Panasonics, Bravos, Lindhaus is in here, a few of these. I might actually have one of these machines. I have a new in the box Healthcare Pro from the 90s. It's assembled. It's never been turned on though, and it might be one of these machines. I don't think he sold very many of them. Stacks and stacks of Hoovers. They sold tons of Hoovers, tons of wind tunnels. This is all commercial machines here. You can see Guardsmans and Sanitaires and Orc Bigfoots, which actually Evan Rogers got one of those machines. And there's machines tucked in here that he would not have had access to new. Like they didn't have dealers at that point. So like there's a Prolux in there. And I don't know how he got them, but he did somehow. Another picture of the store. This chocolate place is still there, and they still have their neons too, which is kind of neat. We're good friends with them. And looking here, this is the old service department, which I think is now pretty much all gone. I'm pretty sure we've taken all of that out of there and replaced it with new stuff. But if you look back here, you can see fans, fan cases. It looks like a Hoover Spirit hose there for repair. And you can just see there's just hundreds of vacuums in here at this point. Looking at the photos, it does start to get a little overwhelming. Now we design stores being curated, and at this point though, it was the vacuum superstore. He was and like at this point, you could look in here and see there was just a path that you'd walk through as wide as one of these carpets. That's where you'd walk down the center aisle here, and otherwise it was just all new vacuums for sale stacked to the ceiling. Oryx, these are Oryx 1, 2, 3, stacked 7 high. Now, the thing is, with the way I know he bought vacuums, the thing is there were probably machines in those boxes. He bought a ton of inventory, always had a lot on hand, so there was probably that many in there. If you look here, you can see that looks like a brand new Electrolux, honestly, in here. Again, he had connections that I'm not quite sure how to get some of this stuff, but he did. This is earlier in opening. He was a Dirt Devil dealer. You can see there's a Mila White Pearl with a universal floor head there. So this is, again, earlier. Stacks of Kirby's, and it looks like there is a G4. Brand new G4 sitting there. Or very, very new G4, or almost new G4. He held on with Dirt Devil. He did not really get behind or stay behind very long. Panasonic, he kept till the end. Eureka was one of those brands that I think Eureka really pretty much abandoned any support to the vacuum store market in the early aughts. So there was never this much of a display of these machines much longer after this. We saw that one already. More Eureka. There's an Excalibur, which I love that machine. Really cool vacuum. Wall of disposable bags sitting here. Heritage 84, Legend. And Here's another picture looking the other direction. So this again would have been earlier on in the store being open. He was doing sewing machines a little bit at that point. And again, the build out, you can see just bags hanging. Brush rolls, which I'm not sure if this was just to take up space, because this all did go away later, was replaced with more machines, but this was just their way of taking up space. So you would have probably stored these in the back. Not the easiest thing to make look nice. More just tons of disposable bags. The baby Oric, which I had, blew up or burnt out like 3 or 4 of them. Again, there's a stack of Phantoms here. I mean, just Thunders and Lightnings, there's Cyclone XTs. So he was selling them. They were never a profitable machine, but he carried them and would sell them to people. It wasn't a bait and switch tactic. It was, if that's really what you want, we will sell you one. Another really great photo. And I say profit, it's, you know, what can't be forgotten about is that, like, businesses have to make money to survive. You do have to pay your bills and be there tomorrow. So when vac shops have a brand that they like more because it's a better built machine, but also they make more money on it, it's kind of essential. Businesses need to make a profit so they're there tomorrow. No one has a problem whenever large corporations gouge people, but a small business, like, that's, you got to be there tomorrow. So I understand why stores do what they do, but you can also still stock and sell things to people, because if that's what they want, that's what they want. So you can explain the differences, but if they still want that, you sell it to them and say thank you. So going through here, there's a lot of duplicates here. I was just so over the moon excited to see this. This is a later photo here. Eureka's tons. I mean, looking here, there's the World Vac. We had that machine when I was a baby and it went away. The two-tone green and I think it was an EnviroVac. Panasonic in here. He was, like I said, always big on Panasonic. Also rode the Oric wave pretty much all the way through, which is pretty cool. You see here Hoover Conquest. And I think, oh, and this is a different thing, but this is when at one point he was selling so many Milas that Mila actually paid to send him. He went to Germany, so he's on the Mila bus. There's the Mila Museum. Really some neat photos, but again, different video. So I hope you enjoyed the little look at the vac shop that I now call my own. I don't have nearly that many machines. The market is different now. I don't think we can get that many mass merchant machines if we tried. But we certainly have, I think we have about 120 different new vacuums. So we're doing okay. Again, it's a different market than it used to be. And I think we carry a pretty broad selection for what the world is now. So I appreciate you watching, and happy vacuuming.